Just wanted to take this opportunity for any questions. Kathy, of course, is here with us and can walk us through anything related to the budget. But if y'all have anything specific as far as the budget, we're looking at final adoption for the budget tonight so it can be submitted to DFA by the 31st, which is Friday. So at this point, I'll turn it back to you guys if y'all have any questions, or if Kathy wants to expand on anything in the budget.
So I guess I'll take my cue from the commissioners. There are a few adjustments, just like we always have with the final budget adoption, either projects that weren't completed as of the end of June, and those funds need to be reappropriated into the new year. This is primarily in the Joint Utility Fund, or for those changes that have occurred since the budget adoption or the preliminary budget in May, situations we've become aware of in the last 2 months. Probably in the general fund, the biggest one of those is the change in the state law mandating the body cameras for law enforcement. We have to have that program in place by the end of September. And fortunately, PD jumped on it as soon as that legislation was passed prior to the governor signing it. So we were able to get the cameras ordered and such. However, it is requiring that budget adjustment to the 21 budget, and that's almost $75,000 to the general fund. Of that, we believe that New Mexico Self-Insures Fund will provide funding for the purchase of the cameras, which is approximately $20,000, which then it requires the city to purchase basically the server, the licensing, batteries, docking equipment, that type of thing, for approximately $55,000 will come out of the general fund. Other changes are in the senior food program. We think we have some final numbers from Farmington, although we're still waiting on agreements. And what I've decided is that rather than having the cost for that program split between two funds, between general fund and the intergovernmental fund, that it would make more sense for us to be able to track what that program is actually costing the city, to have it all in one fund. So you'll see amounts being moved out of the general fund over to the intergovernmental fund. However, in doing that, because we know that the funding for that program that will be coming through either meal donations or the reimbursement through City of Farmington is not sufficient to support the program, so it is going to require a transfer of funds from general fund over to the intergovernmental fund to cover that. And that's approximately $45,000. I'm hoping that I have a little bit of a cushion with that number, but this is a new program for us in covering these costs, and of course we're in this very unusual situation with the pandemic, and trying to predict what costs and participation it's going to be has been challenging. So it's possible as the year goes on we may have to do an additional transfer, but we'll just have to wait to see what those costs actually look like. The other big item, probably a general fund, but it is offset by a grant fund, which is the Best Friends CAP program, which the commission approved at the last meeting. That's a total of $59,000 increase in expenditures, but we also have $59,000 in grant revenue coming to offset that program. We're going to try, because gross receipts didn't totally bottom out in June, to go ahead and accelerate some of the vacant positions that we had budgeted to fill in January. We tried to accelerate 3 of those positions to be filled this fall. And that's the IT support person to provide assistance to Wallace. We have a vacant patrol position in the police department, and then to fill the procurement position in finance. So those are probably the biggest things in the general fund. Do you all have any questions, or do we want to just keep going fund by fund, or?
Kathy, I have a question. It's Tyson. As far as those police cameras go, how long do you think that technology will be, I guess, good, or is it a long-term solution, or is it more of a, we're going to have to wait and see and probably have to change out that technology in 3 to 4 years?
I would estimate that the cameras will probably have a life of probably about 5 years, which is typical for video or this type of technology. The camera solution that the police department selected is the same type of product that we have in our police cars. And so the technology work together between the vehicles and then the cameras on the officer. I can't get into more detail because that's kind of beyond my scope, but and I don't believe the chief is available, but he certainly can give you, or captain or lieutenant, any one of them can provide more information on the specifics of the technology, but it is provided by the same company that our patrol cameras are, or our vehicle cameras are. And so all of that will be stored on the same server. It's something that the department's already familiar with and how to use that equipment. And so that's why they chose to continue with WatchGuard.
Thank you.
And those cameras are the most current and most up to date that they offer.
Okay, so I'll just continue by fund.
Yeah, I was gonna hop in there and say maybe we should just continue through, and that might spur a question or two as well, but otherwise just an overview I think is what I think everybody's kind of comfortable with that for now.
Okay.
Thank you.
So the next fund is the Law Enforcement Protection Fund. We receive an annual distribution. And if those funds are not expended 100% during the fiscal year, we request for approval to carry over those funds, and then of course we have to reappropriate that balance, and that's what this $3,890 is just the balance of the carryover of that appropriation from FY20. Again, Intergovernmental Grants Fund, this is where we'll find the Senior Food Program. We also are adding in the Riverbank Stabilization Program. We received the funding agreement for in June, and that's for $138,000. Again, that's the cost of the program, but we also have grant revenues that will offset 100% of those costs. We will still have some in-kind costs that will be in the general fund, but they're already budgeted funds in the form of personnel, equipment costs, and that type of thing. The Senior Food Program, like I said, we have received information from Farmington regarding the level of funding. And it's actually a reduction of $27,000 from what we had included in the preliminary budget numbers. I've also made an adjustment, a reduction of $5,000 in the meal donations that the program receives because of our congregate, the meals that are served at the center obviously are down. And given the current situation, it just seemed prudent to drop that number a little bit in anticipation of just that those numbers are not going to be coming in the way they have in the past, which is also contributing to why there's that need for the transfer from general fund of $45,000. Lodgers tax. Actually, the revenues, the lodgers tax revenues performed better than anticipated. So in conjunction, conversations with the Lodgers Tax Board, they approved an increase in both the revenue budget by $6,000 and the marketing and advertising budgets. This is carrying over some funds from FY20. It still leaves a very healthy cash balance in the Lodgers Tax Fund if all of the funds are 100% expended. The airport fund, when the preliminary budget was done, we didn't know how far some of the projects were going to be done, and so we just carried over 100% of the funding to the FY21. Of course, in the 2 months from that time, we have made progress on it, and so what you're seeing is just an adjustment to those various programs of what has been expended, and then of course reducing the revenues to match what's already been reimbursed through the various programs and such. We are having a little bit of delay on some of the CARES Act funding, and so just in case, I have budgeted a $10,000 transfer from general fund just to keep that budget from going into a negative cash balance. But again, that transfer will only occur if we actually have a negative cash balance. It won't be something we'll automatically transfer to the fund. And then finally is the joint utility fund, and this is where we see the carryover of the projects that were budgeted in FY20 that weren't completed as of the end of the year, and that includes to complete the advanced meter network, to deploy more meters. We had estimated 1,000 meters with the original budget. Ken has asked that be increased to 1,500 meters. So that's an additional 100,000. The Llano lift station upgrade is approximately 60% complete as of the end of June. So it's a reappropriation of the balance of those funds. And then again, with the grant agreement that is before the commission this evening, is the $1.5 million legislative appropriation for the Navajo Dam water line. And then the hub. And we will get that finally finished up and state approval to where we get that transferred and done and be finished with it. So that's the adjustments in a nutshell. We ended FY20 in a much better position than what had originally been estimated, which is allowing us to have a greater cash balance to potentially end FY21 with. The general fund, if 100% of the revenues are recognized in FY21 and everything is expended, in FY21, we'll see an increase of $800,000 in the cash reserve in general fund from the preliminary budget, which is always a great place to be. Questions, comments, changes?
Maybe we should end on that, yeah? No, but seriously, anybody have any questions or additional comments or supplements or whatever you want to call it to our finance director's presentation on our funds and kind of where we are?
I do.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Have you heard something on the closing of the hub as far as when they're going to sign off on it?
No, I haven't, but as soon as I get this budget submitted, I will make the push to get that done.
Okay, I have people asking me, why that hasn't been closed out, and I don't really have an answer. Bureaucracy at the state level.
Well, a lot of remote working, part of it is on me, just getting everything pulled together and getting submitted to the state and such. So, like I said, once I get this budget submitted, top priority to push and get that done.
Are you saying it's your fault?
Yes, ma'am, I am saying it's my fault.
Okay, that, I'll be careful about using that in any commentary.
It's on my shoulder.
Thank you.
Hey, Kathy, I have it's an unrelated question, or slightly unrelated, I would imagine, but I've seen some stuff and I got a question kind of on social media today about the CARES Act stuff for small businesses, some of the applications for funding. I don't know how that impacts the city directly, or if that's something that we facilitate, or can you maybe just give me like the Cliff Notes version of that?
I don't have a Cliff Notes version of that. I need to review the email. Maybe Steve has had more time to review the information we received from the state yesterday. But no, I have not sat down and read in detail that information.
No problem. No problem. I wasn't expecting a full-blown explanation. I was just curious.
Yeah,
So-
that's gonna be a process that we work out over the next 3-4 days or weeks to get all that stuff ironed out. But all that information we've got to have in place by August 7th, so it's gonna be a quick turnaround from us as well.
Okay. All right. That's all I was curious about. Thank you. But I assumed you guys were already at least kind of read into it a little bit, and it was on your radar. So that was kind of my question, I guess.
Yes, sir.
Very much. Anybody else? We'll go around the horn. Commissioner Padilla?
No, I'm good. I appreciate
Okay.
Kathy's hard work.
Commissioner Lewis?
No, there's no questions. I want to apologize for being late. I got stuck in Arlington's traffic and the road. But no, I read through it the other day and then again this afternoon, the new stuff.
Yeah, that's stuff done, so I don't think that excuse works. All the roundabout stuff already. Okay.
Oh, no,
Commissioner,
Nothing other than just, the budget looks good, it always looks good, so, thank you, Kathy.
I'll echo that as well. And Mayor Pro Tem, unless you have anything else, I'll just skip over you because you already asked questions. So I'm good myself. And I guess we'll be voting on this here fairly soon tonight. So let's see, Mr. Mueller, did you have anything?
No, sir.
Okay, Mr. Gobble, I don't know if you wanted to add anything? I'll assume not.
No, I'm there, sorry, I couldn't find the big button. I don't have anything else, but I will vouch for Mr. Lewis. It did take me 25 minutes to get from my office to my house this morning, or this afternoon, trying to get to this, so it is pretty bad.
Thank you.
All right. You have a lawyer vouching for you, so it must be good. Okay, it is 5:37. We'll go ahead and end this workshop for final budget adoption. We have about 20 minutes or so. I want to ask just ahead real quick if someone would volunteer to give the invocation and do the pledges tonight. Just a little show of hands if somebody wants to do it or will do it. Commissioner, thank you.
I'll do the pledge.
All right, thanks, Commissioner Padilla. So we're good to go there. And we're not changing links or anything, are we? We're just staying on here, is that right?
Correct.
Okay. All right, well, we have about 20 minutes to kind of take a quick break and get a drink of water, so I'll see you back here at 6. Thank you all.
We're gonna have another deli